Every day, we build the world around us.
But who's checking in on us?
Welcome to Built For Us.
It's a brand new podcast.
Built by construction workers, for construction workers.
It's our own honest space.
There's no scripts, there's no suits. It's just
Real talk about mental health, stress,
And showing up for each other.
The Built For Us podcast is proudly powered by JT Motive and proudly sponsored by the CHPK Group.
With another Built For Us podcast. I'm joined by Steve Kirby and Andy Bishop. We are going to be talking about mental health clubs and different versions of clubs that we go to, that we found helpful, clubs that you've joined later on in life as a man. Like I say, once you've sort of retired from football or don't want to go down the pub anymore, where'd you go? If you are struggling, what do you reach out to? Me personally, I found real help with Andy's Man Club and spent some time with those, as well as volunteering with those and helping run some sessions in my local one. I found it really helpful and I found it fascinating what different people have said. I don't know about you, Steve, and you, Andy. Have you been on many of these clubs or do much with these clubs?
Well, I think Andy should go because he's a founder, so we'll let him talk.
Yeah, happy to share my experience. Yeah, so Mangang is exactly that. It's very similar to Andy's Man Club. We're nowhere as big as Andy's Man Club, but we're very similar to any of these men's groups that have cropped up around the UK, around the world, even in recent years. So yeah, it's I didn't know what I was doing when I started it, but I knew people needed to have a place to go. When I was growing up, the men's clubs they were pubs. They were working men's clubs. You know, there was the sports clubs and things like that. But sadly, in recent times, the kind of pub culture's fallen by the wayside. You don't get you still get it in some areas. You still get the cohort of men that will go, and they don't realise what they're doing. It's talking and sharing and getting the load off their chest. And with a couple of pints comes the extra little bit of Dutch courage, doesn't it? So we've always had these. We've always had these organisations. We've always had this kind of concept in life, but it's just changing tack a little bit. So I mean, for me, the Mangang's it's one of the things I'm most proud of creating. Seeing the growth of the men that walk through the door or don't walk through the door.
How does Mangang actually work then? What if someone wanted to come to Mangang? How does it work?
They literally just turn up. So there's no registration, there's no booking fee, because life's full of rules, right? We got all this. We're in work. We've got to be in work at a certain time, and then you've got to have your break at a certain time. You've got to do this at a certain. You've got limits, and you've got limits for everything, and controls in place for everything. God help us working in the construction industry. You've got to spend about 3 weeks just before you get through the gate. Your fingerprint. Do you know what I mean? Your fingerprint and your eye colour, and they're scanning everything, and then you walk out of work, you don't want to be bound by rules. So, there's no registration. It's totally anonymous. If you turn up and tell me your name's Donald Duck, cheers, Donald. The confidentiality thing is kind of key. Because a lot of men, they don't want other people to know what they're going through. They don't want to talk about stuff that might get back to people that they know because of that stigma. You know, that stigma is prevalent everywhere. Yeah. So, generally what will happen is somebody will reach out to us on social media normally, or they'll give us a call and they'll have a chat. They'll try and find out. But the biggest thing is a lot of the men will come, and you've probably seen this, Ben, at Andy's Man Club. A lot of the men will walk in through the front door and they'll say, "Oh, you're not expecting me to talk here."
Yeah.
And you're like, no, if you want to, like, this is one of the things that we do. Like, so with the rules and stuff, it's like, if you need to have 2 or 3 hours away from whatever is going on in your life and you just want to curl up in the corner and get your head down, crack on and do it, because that's what you need in that moment. But then we just basically break the ice and we start off with a question. And that question is one of the most difficult ones to answer. And it's, who are you?
Wow, yeah.
And then that's like if I said that to you now, you'd probably both answer with your name and what you do for a job title. But
yeah.
I already know. I can read that on Steve's thing there. I know what he does. So I can see his name. That's not who he is. I want to know who you are right here in this moment. But this is where the power comes from within the group. So there's guys that have been in there for a little bit of time, and they'll lead the scene. They'll say, right, who I am right now. They might be struggling with paying bills. They might be struggling with, I don't know, a bit of physical health problems or something. But 9 times out of 10, when you put a group of guys together, the chances of somebody else going through or having gone through the exact same thing, it starts to rise. And all of a sudden, then connections start getting made. It's literally magic.
It's confidence building, isn't it? And I think that's but that confidence builds, and hearing of somebody else's story and hearing somebody else's struggles then encourages you as a person to kind of reflect on that and relate, and then it gives you that confidence to then talk about where you are and, like, say, who you are. You know, like, what are you going through at the moment? What's holding you back? What limitations are you putting on yourself? All of those kind of things. But for me, Andy's Man Club, Mangang, all of them type of things, it's having a group of guys sat together, and even that in itself, even for any newbies, after what, 10 minutes, you see the confidence lift, you know, like, because they're not alone. And when you're in that place, you do feel pretty alone. And that's reassuring in itself, you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
It creates that safe space, doesn't it?
Yeah, one of the most inspiring things I ever saw with Andy's Man Club, you get a ball and you pass the ball around the room, and it's the talking ball. You can either just pass it on, which a lot of people do. And we got to this one guy and he said, look, I've had a problem with my wife. We've split up. And then he passed it on. He told his story, passed it on to the next person. He said, oh, I'm just here. I'm his brother. He wouldn't come in without me. I've just come to support, but... And then because he said that, but he felt like he had to talk, and he started coming out with stuff that his brother ain't even knew, because his brother was going through so much. His brother had been hiding it. So he come out with this stuff, and everyone's like, oh my God. And he goes, I didn't even want to talk. I wasn't here to talk. I wasn't here to join him. And that just made more and more people share, more and more people go, like, so I go, oh, okay, this is safe. This is what it's about. And you could just see the weight off his shoulders that he had someone to talk to, because he couldn't talk to his brother at the moment, because his brother was struggling.
Yeah, no, it does. It just creates. Obviously, I do it for a living, like speaking around sites and events and stuff like that. And I'll be completely vulnerable up there and talk about where I was at and the dark hole that I found myself in. And I could see it in people's faces. Like, there's a bit of shock, you know, like, wow, that happened and this happened. But then you can see them, like, looking within themselves at what they're going through at the minute, and then comparing it and then relating it. And then the amount of people afterwards that will just start talking, like, they'll come over and they'll open up, and having seen that story, they can then go on and talk about their own.
That's essentially what happens at a Mangang meeting. So the format, we don't publicise a format. The format is really, really loose. I know Andy's Man Club, they have a raft of questions that they ask, and they use the speaking ball. We rely on our facilitators to control the conversation, and we concentrate on the kind of new guys. So particularly with the guys that don't want to speak, we'll hand out laminated ground rules cards. This is like 10 or 11 ground rules cards, but they're kind of to keep a bit of order, but it's also so that new person can hear their voice in that room for the first time, because that's a lot of the time people are really worried about it. But then we move on, and everybody goes through, and we ask what their mood score is. So we measure their mood score. Nothing. We're not keeping metrics. We're not keeping KPIs or anything like that. We just want to see where they are. Generally, the guys will come in. They're usually lower than 5 or something like that. But then they all go around. They go around the circle, and the mood can get quite low. If everybody's below 5, it's like quite low. But then the magic starts happening when we have a little bit of a break. People, like you just said, Steve, after people relate to what you've been talking on site, they'll come and gravitate to something that you've spoken about. And then they'll go and have a cigarette together, and they'll start chatting, and they'll naturally start forming these alliances. And then after that, we've had about like a half-hour break or something where the magic really happens, the connections start growing. And then we come back in, and then the next thing is, right, 3 things you're grateful for this week. In the last 7 days, give me 3 things that you're grateful for this week. And if you can imagine somebody that's come in there that's been experiencing suicide thoughts, and they can't think about anything further than like the next 10 minutes or something, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
This is where the power of the group comes in.
When it comes to gratitude, and you say to somebody, name, like you just said, 3 things you're grateful for. Even people that don't seem really depressed or anything, when you ask them that question in that moment, it's as if it's a really, really, really difficult question. It's like, I can't think of 3 things. It's like I get my clients to write down 7 things that they're grateful for every morning. And they'll be like, but I can't think of 7. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like Andy's drinking out of his cup.
In your lungs.
Yeah.
There's all the physical side of it. There's the material stuff. You can be grateful for the cup that you've got to drink out of. You can be grateful for literally anything. There's a million and one things in front of your eyes that you could be grateful for.
And that's where the group come together, and they're like, "Well, you're here. You're not
Yeah.
grateful for that." Do you know what I mean? They're like, "What? I can count that? Yeah, of course you can." Did you get out of a bed this morning? Did you wake up in a field? Well, of course I got out of a bed in a house. You said, "Well, there's another two things," and it's like, "Oh, what? Wow!" But then we add on to that magic, right? So we set them a mission. So we're hoping that they're going to come in next week, and that's what we want to give them, is a safe space to come, like dealing in that hope, you know. So it's like, right, your mission for the next 7 days is do 3 random acts of kindness for a stranger.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, hang on, what do you mean? What's a random act of kindness? But then some of the guys will have already shared what they did, like just held a door open for somebody as they're going into the shop, or complimented a shopkeeper, you know. Or like, well, Ben, your beard's looking fantastic. Bit ginger, but we can get some dye. You know what I mean? Making somebody smile, that's a positive thing for a stranger, isn't it? So they start off really small, but then as the weeks are going on, they just like, some of the stuff that is happening, it's like, well, I'm going to go and run up Snowdon with a fridge strapped to my back. You're like, wow, do you know, or a huge charity event. It's just amazing to watch.
Pay it forward, something I've done for years, like going through Costa drive-through or something, and I'll just, whatever the car behind me is ordered, can I pay for it, please? And they'll be like, do you know what? I'm like, no, I'll pay for it. And then I've got no idea what their response is or whatever, but hopefully it's put a smile on their face, thinking, that person, that car's just paid for my coffee or my breakfast. You know what I mean? And I think, I'm not saying we all need to go out and pay for everybody's stuff, but it's like you just said, holding a door open for somebody, just an act of kindness, it just makes you feel so much better. It raises that emotional energy. And that's, for me, that's what we all are. It's when people say, oh, I'm tired, I'm down, it's not physically, it's that emotional energy that we've all got. It's our cells vibrate at a certain frequency, and if you're kind of a little bit depressed, everything's slowing down. You need to pick it back up. And an act of kindness, gratitude, them small things make a massive difference.
But I've always wondered, you know, you're saying about the coffee and that. We've got a Costa drive-through on the just on the M3 just up by us. I often wonder, like, because I've stopped in there every now and again, and yeah, the person in the car in front just bought you that, and I feel obliged then to buy one for the person in the car behind. Is there a point in the day where somebody just breaks that chain, or does it just keep going? And what happens at the other end? Where does that? Because there's going to be an overlap, isn't there? Does the next day start off? It's going to knock all their accounting out, isn't it?
I try not to overthink it. My brain don't work like that. I just pay and go.
No, it's a fair one.
I've done it before when I've stayed in a busy like restaurant where you've got to tap your ordering and stuff like that, and there's a massive queue, and I just say to the person, they're behind me, look, just put your order in, I'll get it. They're like, what? Wait, don't worry about it, it's fine. Yeah. They're like, what? And it, like I say, it does. They just completely change them. So next time I'm going to do this to someone, I'll pay it forward. And you don't know what they're going to do, but they do something. It is crazy how it all goes. But what I was going to say about these mag groups, and obviously when you go in and introduce yourself, it's a massively scary thing. And I was just thinking, as we're talking about it, because I don't talk about it that much, when I first went in, I was very closed off. I was very low. But I don't know if you've seen this thing called Say It Lad.
Yeah.
Which is like a text service. You text in, or you phone up and leave a message. And I was just thinking, from the first time I went into Andy Manning Club, where I was like, I'm Ben Summers. I'm just here to see what's going on, to where I went to Say It Lad. And I thought, what a great idea. So I phoned up and left a message. And it was like, I'm Ben Summers. I'm a dad, a husband, a brother, an uncle, a worker, a colleague, a friend, a confidant. And you think, you are all these people. And it only going to these clubs made me realise that we do juggle so much. When you actually think about it, you have got so many strings to your bow. It is incredible that you're not just one person, no matter what you are. You're someone's son, or you've got siblings, or you're important to work, something, aren't you? So that's what it blows my mind when you go to these groups or things like that, where people open up and they suddenly get that realization. Actually, I am important. I'm valued to someone. It might not be right now. My wife may have left me, or I may be ill, but I've still got these people that care about me, worry about me, and all this kind of stuff. Stuff like that always blows my mind.
Yeah, like I say, when you find yourself in that dark place, you do feel alone. You know, like, well, I did. You know, like, I'd smile at people and say I'm fine, but the reality was I felt lost, like, completely. But like now looking back, stuff like Andy's Man Club and Mangang and any go, even for me going to the gym, like when I go to the gym, I go to socialize. I spend more time. My wife takes a piss out of me because I spend more time talking and helping others than I do actually training. But for me, that's me meeting other people and talking and getting stuff off my chest. And I think that's what we all need to do. Anybody who's watching this or listening and they do feel a bit stuck at the moment, they do feel a bit lost, then go and try out something like Andy's Man Club, or if you're in the area, like Mangang or something, or go to the gym. I was in the gym a couple of weeks ago and this guy walked in and I've never seen somebody looking so nervous. He was about 45, a little bit younger than me. And he was looking at the machines as if to say, what do you do with that? So I went over and I said, all right, man, I said, do you know how to use that? And he was like, no, I ain't got a clue. He said, it's the first time I've ever come into a gym. He said, I'm absolutely shitting myself. And I was like, why are you shitting yourself? You know, it's just a place to come and figure out the machines and get yourself in a bit better shape. But sometimes to put yourself out there can be a bit scary, whether it is a gym, whether it is Andy's Man Club, or like walking in them doors for that first time. But for anybody who could do that, I guarantee if you go and do it and you stop telling yourself you can't and you go and do it, you will feel a million times better.
Yeah, totally agree.
Everything's more scary in our heads, isn't it? You imagine going into Mangang and you imagine 20 guys all sat around there looking like meatheads, gonna like laugh at you when you go in, you know, like, but you actually walk in and you realize it's just a lot of decent guys sat there going through similar things.
I'm laughing this because it was one of my earliest meetings. We were only operating out of one venue down in over in Romsey there, and very early on we became conscious that there was people that they'd drive past like 2 or 3 times before they walk in. Obviously, I smoke cigarettes, right? So I was standing outside just purely on an off chance. I was standing outside having a cigarette. I'd seen this guy walk past with his wife. I obviously didn't know it was his wife then, but I do now.
Yeah.
So he walked past and he kind of shot a tentative glance, like a little bit of a furtive glance towards me, and then carried on walking. And then he walked past again on the other side of the road. I was like, He didn't spend long enough down there to go to the bank or anything like that. Then the third time he came past, I went and stopped him. I said, "Look, mate, are you here for Mangang?" And his wife was like, "Yes, he is," and literally shoved him towards me. "Take him off me, go on, get him in there." But he became he was really going through. He had like lots of physical ill health going on. He had a lot of stuff, redundancies. He really was in a dark place. But he was struggling to make that first step, even with his wife next to him. It must have been about a year later. So he was still involved in the Mangang, and he got invited onto a radio show to talk about it. And then he'd kind of, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. He explained how this big, burly, baldy-headed guy covered in tattoos rugby tackled him to the ground and dragged him in by his feet into the Mangang. But sometimes it's sometimes what you've got to do. Right? But the thing that I find the most fascinating, right, is people will say, you think of like the burly kind of trades, you got the ground workers, the scaffolders, the brickies. They're already in gangs. They're already they're already in those groups. And I'll pick on the scaffolders because they generally go out 3-hatted, don't they, in a crew cab van. They're already in a man club, but they just don't realize it. And they will share those things with each other on the way into work. And then in the project office, for example, all the guys that are wearing the soft office hands and the chinos and the shirts and stuff, they're in their own little man group as well. And they've probably got very similar backgrounds and experiences and stuff. And all it takes is like you're saying, Steve, is that one person to share that vulnerability. And everybody will go, well, hang on a minute, you're the senior super design project Superman manager, something or other. You know, these crazy job titles everybody gets. You can't be struggling, but then that's where that power of the talking starts. And it
really does. Yeah, when I put up that I was doing something with Andy's Man Club on my LinkedIn, 3 or 4 of my customers where I'm in sales and construction all messaged me privately and said, "This is amazing. I'm struggling with this. What do you think?" I'd love to talk more about it. How would you go about it? Where should I go? And then I went to a meeting with a head of health and safety of a big construction firm in London, and he had his Man Club bracelet. And I said, "Oh, I see you got the bracelet on." He said, "Yeah, I did this," and we spoke about it, and he could tell, because I just started therapy, and he could tell that I wasn't the best. And I never met this guy before. For about a month and a half afterwards, he would text me twice a week. "Are you okay this morning, Ben?" I thought it was incredible that's the power of something that you've got in common, sort of thing, that you're vulnerable with someone and they just check in on you and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like now they're not even clients. Like when I do my talks, I always say to the companies, look, anybody in this room, after hearing what I've just said, if you're struggling with your mental health in any way and you want to reach out, then there's my details. Drop me a message, whether it's a question or whether you need a few sessions. And I've got a list of people now that will just message me on a Sunday just to let me know that they're all right, and then I'll message them back.
Yeah.
Or if some of them have had drink or cocaine issues and they're now doing really well, they'll just message me on a Sunday to let me know they've still not used this week, just for that accountability. And I think, again, even having like groups like what we're talking about, having that for accountability, like going every week, just so you know that you've set yourself goals. One of your goals is to go there. It changes people's lives. Just setting small goals changes people's lives.
Yeah, it really does.
But that accountability is really, really important. So if you haven't got a coach or a therapist or someone to check in with you, go and check in at a group.
Yeah, because like I say, we've had his Man Club is every Monday, and I think it's Monday around the groups, wherever you are in the country, it's the same. As so many people would say, I didn't do it this week because I know I had you Monday. I didn't do it this week. And it's like, if they were going to do it, they wouldn't have to face any consequences. But they're like, I didn't want to let you down by not coming on Monday. So it's mad how their brain works. I've got to be somewhere Monday now, because I've said to them, I'm going to go to the next week's club. I can't let them people down. And it just keeps them coming through the door. But what's happened to me afterwards, after doing that and getting the confidence to talk about properly how I feel, I started a comedy club, which we now do in different areas and build up little communities. But we've had so many first-time comedians or people come to watch us that have said afterwards, this has changed my life. I've got up and done a minute of stand-up comedy. I never thought I would. And they're talking to like-minded people. So it is in any sort of group that people can find a place to talk. So we've had so many people saying, we've had people that just didn't go out, and their wives have come up to me and said, he just didn't go out until this. And now we've got a group of 10 friends that we go out with all the time. That's because of this. So it wherever you can find it, like wherever it may be, five-a-side football, I think it's so important to have that connection that we are generally losing, aren't we, as we get older and stuff.
For a couple of hours a week, historically, that's probably what blokes used to spend in the pub on the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Saturday lunchtime session or a Friday night. And that's kind of like the Mangang, certainly. I know Andy's Man Club there. I think they're like 3 hours on a Monday, I think, is it?
Depending on who's there and what's going on, but they give it a time limit, so everyone has to sort of, because you've got the ball, there is a time of everyone speaking and getting to it. Rather, others should be there all night, so it sort of structures it a little bit. But like I say, it's a couple of hours on a Monday. You don't have to say anything. Gets you out of the house, gets you to have that confidence to walk through the door and stuff like that. So just like I say, a couple of hours that we don't do anymore. Especially I've given up drinking, and like I say, other people have given up drinking, drugs.
I ain't drank for 4.5 years, but I still go to I live in Beverley, so I'll still go and sit in a beer garden and have a Pepsi or a Coke. I'll still go to the pub, but I think for a lot of people as well, including myself, pubs are so damn expensive. So again, when I'm almost 48 now, when I was in like my 20s to 30, I'd go to the pub on a Thursday night, and there's a group of us that'd all go meet up, have a game of pool, couple of pints. But in Hull, where I'm from, there's hardly any pubs open in the areas no more. They've all shut down because they can't.
It just reminded me of a record from the 80s, and it was I can't remember the name of it, but it was narrated, and it was like a Yorkshire brass band in the background, the old Hovis thing. This fella, he's saying, "Yeah, I remember when I was lad, we'd go out with half a crown in those pockets."
Yeah, when I was lad, I used to go pub. When I was lad, I used to go pub all the time. But like I said, that's not there no more. It doesn't seem to be. And I think having these groups, or just setting yourself a goal to go to the gym, or go and sign up to, like you said, Ben, five-a-side football. Or there's even walking football if you're as old as Andy. You know, like you don't have to run about.
Mate, you're catching up. I reckon we need to have a mission, Ben. So, in fact, 3 positive things have happened to you this week, Ben.
3 positive things to happen me. My wife got through our operation, so that was good. She's home now, so she got out of hospital. She's home.
Awesome.
Positive. Positive. My son phoned me from Leeds and said they're coming down next week to stay with me. They're 22 years old, so it's nice to have coming home because I don't see him that often. And I just picked up my stepson from work. We don't always get on that well, but we had a really nice conversation and really laughed in the car. It was about a 2-minute conversation, but it really made me laugh, so much so that I ran up and told my wife, your son has actually really made me laugh now. We all laughed together, so it's lovely.
I'll take that as a win. Steve,
Yeah,
positive things this week.
3 positive things this week. I'm gonna one similar to yourself, Ben. My wife had an operation just for the weekend. She's in recovery, but she's doing really, really well. A lot better than what we thought. So that's a big positive. Work is really, really busy. That's positive for me because I need to stay busy. And the third positive is I'm breathing, I'm healthy and well. But like a 4th positive is we've just booked Orlando again for the end of September. So that's something to look forward to.
Oh, nice.
That's just flexing, that is, mate, isn't it? So, positives this week. I'm not even going to go back 7 days. I've been out on the road with Lighthouse Charity this week. Bumped into a really old friend. And when I say really old friend, I've known him for 37 years. He's been through the mill. He's in really good spirits. So we had a good catch up. We had plenty of time. And yeah, it was great to see him. I'll say there's a little bit of a negative there because his beard is way better than mine. Another positive was meeting a chap that I didn't recognise, but he recognised me. And he'd attended one of the talks I did at Heathrow a couple of years ago. And basically he told me that he took that card away, the card that we hand out. And basically that changed his life because he made the phone call, both him and his partner did. He didn't have to tell me about it, but he chose to come over and say, look, I wasn't in a good place, but now I am. So that was a massive positive. And the third positive is I am home with my beautiful partner and my amazing dogs. So, yeah. The win.
Incredible.
Can we not mention dogs? I'm having a break at the moment, but I've got 2 sausages and one of them is in season and we can't let them get together because we've got a holiday booked at the end of September, so we don't want puppies. So we're trying to keep them separate. The poor little lad is, to say frustrated is an understatement. It's just been a constant headache for about the last 7 or 8 days, and I know there's still probably another week to go. So,
no,
mate,
crazy.
We're all men. We all understand that, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. We've done a little task there. I think we should set the listeners a task of maybe doing 1 act of kindness this week before the next episode. And then they can let us know what they did if they want to. So then we get a wide variety of different acts of kindness going on. I think that's a good idea. A good way to end the episode is get our listeners to join in and let us know
definitely.
what come before we see them again.
Yeah, let us know on all the social medias and the YouTube. Stick a comment on what your act of kindness was,
and we'll love to see them all.
And for anybody who's been thinking about joining a group, whether that's a Mangang or Andy's Man Club or going to the gym or whatever it might be, and you're scared to actually do it, it's like taking that step. It's really, really difficult. Go and do it. It will change your life. I promise.
Totally agree. One of the best things I ever did.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks ever so much, Steve. Thank you, Andy.
Keep on keeping on.
The Built For Us podcast is proudly powered by JT Motive and proudly sponsored by the CHPK Group.
Thanks for viewing this episode. We really appreciate your support. Remember, follow us, subscribe, share with a mate, join us live. Built For Us. Let's build something stronger together.